Liam, Delap, Pedro, Essugo, Palmer, Estevão, Nicholas Jackson.
Chelsea is building something really crazy here.
So Fernandes with the header, and he brings Chelsea level.
This squad isn't just good, it's scary. From top to bottom, they've got firepower, depth, and a manager with a plan. This isn't about rebuilding anymore. Chelsea is coming for the Premier League, and they might just destroy everything in their path. But who are these players changing this team, and how good are they? Well, let's talk about it. Chelsea last season was a mix of potential and inconsistency. They had the quality, no doubt, but they couldn't always put it together in the league. One week they looked sharp, beating Liverpool 3-1. Then the next week they'd lose to Newcastle without putting up much of a fight. That kind of form held them back. If they had just been a bit more consistent, especially in the final third of the season, they would have been pushing for a higher finish. But even with those issues, they still managed to secure 4th place. And that says a lot about the talent in this team. Where they stood out was in Europe. In the Conference League, they were completely different. Organised, focused, and ruthless. They took down teams like Copenhagen and Real Betis and went all the way to win the trophy. It wasn't just about winning, it was about how they won. Controlled performances, tactical discipline, and a clear plan from Enzo Maresca. Maresca himself made it clear early on that the focus wasn't the Premier League. His approach was all about building slowly and getting things right first. And you could see that playing out week by week. But this season, that's changed. The foundation is set, the squad has improved. And now, Chelsea are aiming for the Premier League title, no doubt about it. So let's take a look at why at his team and how ready they are to challenge, starting from the back with the goalkeeper. Now, let's start from the back. Roberto Sanchez. He had a solid season overall. Physically, he's got everything you want in a keeper. He's tall, commands his box well, and is comfortable with the ball at his feet. In Maresca's system, that's important. Chelsea builds from the back, and Sanchez fits that role. But the one thing holding him back is his confidence under pressure. There were moments last season where he made simple mistakes. Wrong decisions on crosses, poor passes under pressure. Those moments can cost you games, especially in tight matches where margins are small. The good thing is he's still improving. He's only 27, which is young for a goalkeeper. And with more consistency and trust in the system, those errors should start to fade. What Chelsea needs from him this season is control. Nothing flashy, just solid performances week in, week out. If Sanchez can stay sharp and cut out those lapses in concentration, he won't just be a reliable option. He could be one of the top keepers in the league under Maresca's system. And he's going to need to be, because the players in front of him, that's where things get really serious. Now this is where Chelsea looks strongest. Centre-backs. It's not just depth, it's quality across the board. You've got Levi Colwill, who's grown into a real presence at the back. Left-footed, calm on the ball, and positionally intelligent. He doesn't dive in, he reads the game. That kind of profile is rare, especially for a player his age. And in a system that relies on playing out from the back, he gives you that composure under pressure. Then there's Tosin, who was one of the biggest surprises last season. He came in, settled quickly, and showed that he's more than ready for this level. He's strong in the air, good 1v1, and reliable in possession. Most importantly, he stayed consistent. Every time he played, he gave Chelsea control defensively. He didn't just fill a gap, he raised the standard. Those two, Tosin and Colwill, are looking like Maresca's go-to pairing, and together, they bring balance. Tosin gives you aerial dominance and recovery pace. Colwill brings technical quality and that left-sided passing angle that helps build out. Behind them, you still have Benoit Badiashile, Wesley Fofana, and Trevoh Chalobah. That's serious depth. When fit, Fofana offers power and aggression. Badiashile is solid, and Chalobah has shown he can step in when needed. But what's important is that Maresca now has centre-backs who are not just physically strong. They're comfortable stepping into midfield when needed, pressing high and playing in tight spaces. That's exactly what he demands from his defenders. And when you have a unit that understands how to defend both with and without the ball, your team becomes much harder to break down. Last season, Chelsea were shaky at times in transition, but with a settled partnership in Colwill and Tosin and this kind of depth behind them, those problems should reduce significantly. It's not just about stopping goals, it's about controlling games from the back. And Chelsea finally has the defenders to do that. In the fullback role, they have built something really solid on both flanks. We'll start on the left, and here Marc Cucurella deserves real credit. Last season, he turned things around. His performances weren't just good, they were consistent, mature, and influential. He played with confidence, made better decisions in possession, and was far more reliable defensively. What makes him important in Maresca's system is his intelligence on the ball. He's not just overlapping for the sake of it. He inverts when needed, plays inside to help the midfield, and knows when to push high or tuck into the back three in build-up. You can see that his decision-making has improved a lot. His press resistance, short passing, and ability to shift the play quickly are all key tools in this system. On the right, you've got Reece James and Malo Gusto. And while both are right-backs, they're not being used the same way. Reece James, when fit, is one of the best right-backs in Europe. But under Maresca, he's being used more and more in midfield roles, either inverting from the right or even starting in midfield in some matches. That's because of his ability to control tempo, play through pressure, and dictate transitions. He's not just a fullback anymore, he's becoming a tactical weapon. That opens the door for Malo Gusto, who quietly had a strong season. He's quick, aggressive in duels, and always available in wide spaces. He's also improving in his link-up play and decision-making in the final third. With Reece James managing fitness and possibly shifting to midfield more regularly, Gusto is going to get a lot of minutes, and he looks ready for that responsibility. Then there's Josh Akieampong, who's still flying under the radar for most people. But if there's a breakout youngster to watch in this team, it's probably him. He's athletic, technical, and tactically disciplined. If he gets chances in cup games or even a few league appearances, don't be surprised if he takes them. So now, both flanks are covered. On the left, you have Cucurella dictating possession and offering control. On the right, you've got Gusto bringing energy and James giving tactical flexibility. And on top of that, Chelsea has youth options ready to step in. This isn't just depth for the sake of numbers. It's depth with different styles and functions. That gives Maresca the ability to switch tactics without changing shape too much. Now that the backline's covered, let's get into the midfield, because this is where Chelsea have gone from promising to dominant. The engine room. This is where Chelsea made one of their biggest leaps last season. The combination of talent, physicality, and control they have now is one of the best in the league. Start with Moises Caicedo. He had a rough start, no question, but by the second half of the season, he looked like the player Chelsea paid for. His reading of the game, his defensive work, and his ability to break up play, all of that came together. But what stood out most was his ball progression. He was carrying the ball forward with confidence, driving through midfield lines and setting the tone defensively. His form down the stretch was one of the reasons Chelsea finished fourth and won the Conference League. Then you have Enzo Fernandez, and last season was the first time we saw his full range of abilities. He looked more comfortable, more involved, and more decisive. He's not just a deep playmaker. He was stepping into advanced areas, playing final passes, and even getting into scoring positions. You could tell that he finally had the right structure around him, and it allowed his creativity to come through. Next to them, Dewsbury-Hall added a different kind of energy. He presses hard, covers ground quickly, and adds goals from midfield. He's not flashy, but he's reliable. The kind of player that brings balance when you already have stars like Enzo and Caicedo. Last season, he played well, ran into space, and contributed in both directions. He earned his place. Romeo Lavia is the one who didn't play much due to injuries, but if he stays fit this season, he adds even more quality. He's calm under pressure, strong in duels, and has the positional awareness to sit deep when Caicedo pushes forward. In a double pivot or as a lone six, he gives Chelsea more flexibility. And now, they've added Dario Essugo from Sporting. Still young, still developing, but he fits the profile. Athletic, aggressive, and tactically smart. He's not coming in to start every week, but that's not the point. He's depth, and high ceiling depth. In a long season, especially one with European football, that matters more than people think. It's about keeping quality high even when rotating. This midfield group gives Maresca the ability to dominate games. They can press high, hold possession, and break lines, all depending on what's needed. There's physicality, technique, and versatility all in one unit. And with Reece James sometimes slotting in as an extra midfielder, the options only grow. Now we move into the number 10 role, and there is another name than the cold destroyer, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer has completely taken ownership of the number 10 role. Last season, he was Chelsea's most consistent attacker, with over 25 goal contributions in all competitions. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the way he played. He operated between the lines, found space, and always looked in control. His decision-making improved, his movement off the ball became sharper, and he linked up play with real intelligence. What stood out most was how calm he was under pressure. Whether it was the final pass, a shot, or just holding possession, Palmer made the right choices. Maresca has built the attack around him, and it's working. With players running off him and the freedom to roam, he's become the creative heartbeat of this team. And now that Palmer is settled, Chelsea's next challenge is fixing what hurt them most last season: the wide areas. Last season, the wide areas were a weak spot for Chelsea. The left wing especially felt like a revolving door. Players were rotated constantly, and nobody nailed down the role. Toward the end of the season, they had to rely on Jadon Sancho, who came in on loan from Manchester United. He did a decent job, but it was a short-term fix. This season, they've made a clear decision: no more stopgaps. Instead of keeping Sancho, they've signed Jamie Gittens, and that changes everything. Gittens is direct, technically sharp, and confident, taking on defenders with ease. He's the type of winger who creates space for others just by being aggressive on the ball. He's also young and still developing, but you can already see the difference in how that left side looks with him there. There's also Tyreek George, who could be one of the breakout names this season. Last year, he made just 8 appearances, scoring once and assisting once. But the numbers don't tell the full story. Every time he came on, he looked more comfortable. He grew into games, found space well, and showed glimpses of what he could become. If he gets more minutes this season, he could easily become a key part of the squad rotation. Now, over on the right wing, Chelsea are in a much stronger position. Pedro Neto is the main name here. He had his moments last season, quick, creative, and dangerous. But shifting between the right and left sometimes hurt his rhythm. With a settled role, he'll be more consistent. Then you have Noni Madueke, though it looks like he's on his way to Arsenal. That might seem like a loss, but Chelsea already has a plan. Estevão is coming in, and he's not coming to sit on the bench. His performances at the Club World Cup with Palmeiras were outstanding. He won 2 Man of the Match awards and looked composed even against top European sides, including Chelsea. Estevão brings flair, maturity beyond his age, and a willingness to take responsibility in big moments. He's not a backup option, he's real competition. So now, instead of patching together solutions out wide, Chelsea have a mix of high-potential youngsters and proven talents, all capable of impacting games. And all of that will mean very little if there's no one to finish the chances. So let's talk about the strikers. Chelsea's striker situation last season was simple. Nicholas Jackson led the line, and while he worked hard and showed flashes, it wasn't enough. He finished with 10 goals and 5 assists in the league. That's decent, but for a club chasing titles, it's not enough to lead the line alone. What Jackson brings is movement. He's constantly making runs in behind, stretching defenses and creating space for others. But what he lacks is consistency in front of the goal and composure in key moments. That's why Chelsea knew they had to strengthen up front. So now they've brought in two new options, Liam Delap and João Pedro. Delap is powerful, aggressive, and plays with intensity. He's a completely different profile from Jackson, someone who thrives with his back to goal, holds up play well, and can bully defenders in tight spaces. He's the type of striker you bring in when you need presence inside the box and physicality up top. João Pedro, on the other hand, is more technical. He's good at linking play, dropping deep to connect with midfield, and making smart runs between the lines. He also brings calmness in the final third, something this Chelsea team needed last season. What makes this front line different now is that Maresca has options. He can go with Jackson's speed, Delap's strength, Pedro's link-up, or even use two strikers depending on the opponent. That gives Chelsea the kind of flexibility they didn't have before. It also puts pressure on each striker to perform, because no one's guaranteed a start. The difference this season is simple. It's not just one guy up top. It's a group, and all of them offer something unique. Now, with this much depth across every area of the pitch, there's one thing that's clear. Maresca has a selection headache on his hands. But do you think this team can win the league? Well, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our last video. Thank you.